What happens when a smug HOA Karen thinks she can manipulate the neighborhood, frame the wrong guy, and steal everything in sight? Let's just say her little empire of lies is about to sink faster than a yacht with no anchor. Owning a private boat was my pride and joy. It wasn't just any vessel, it was insured under my name, registered outside any HOA jurisdiction, and treated like a floating mansion away from the nonsense of neighborhood politics. That's why I nearly spat out my coffee when Joyce, the ever persistent president of our HOA, approached me with her usual smug grin and asked if she could borrow my boat for an HOA mixer. A boat, mind you, that had absolutely nothing to do with HOA rules. I flatly told her no, backing up my refusal with policies, liability concerns, and the very obvious fact that it was my private property. She laughed it off like I was being difficult, muttering something about community spirit. But I made sure my words were crystal clear. Under no circumstances would that happen. Welcome to Karen HOA Chronicles. Ensure to like and subscribe for more top-notch HOA drama. I thought that was the end of it, but Joyce wasn't someone who understood boundaries. A few days later, tragedy struck my family, and I had to fly out for a funeral. Before leaving, I locked and secured my cabin and double-checked my Ring camera system, newly installed for extra peace of mind. That decision, I'd later realize, was pure genius. On Saturday, as I sat quietly in the airport lounge, my phone buzzed with an alert. Someone had entered my cabin. Pulling up the footage, I nearly dropped my phone. It was Joyce herself, strutting onto my boat like it was her red carpet moment. Not alone either. She brought the whole HOA circus with her. I immediately called my neighbor, my emergency contact, only to hear him sheepishly admit Joyce told him I'd given her permission to grab the keys. I sat there in disbelief, rage simmering under my skin as I watched my Ring camera feed. Joyce strutted around like some bootleg cruise director, welcoming everyone aboard with a fake posh voice. "Isn't this fabulous?" she bragged, acting like she'd financed the entire boat. The sight of her holding a champagne glass on my deck while laughing at my rules made me want to hurl my phone across the room. And then, just to rub salt into the wound, she announced to the crowd, "It's not a big deal. We're not damaging anything." Oh, really? Tell that to the wine stain dripping down my teak railing, Karen. At first, my rational side whispered, "Call the marina, call the cops, report the trespassing." But no, that was too easy, too predictable, too boring. These people needed to feel consequences deeper than a slap on the wrist. I wanted justice with seasoning, spicy revenge that would make their heads spin faster than the boat engine itself. Lucky for me, my boat wasn't just a hunk of fiberglass. It was a floating, gadget-packed fortress. I'd upgraded nearly everything: lighting, alarms, even the dock lines. Yes, even the ropes holding her steady at the pier were Wi-Fi enabled, controllable from my phone. The tide was calm, the forecast perfect, and my patience thin. It was almost too easy. As Joyce gave a ridiculous tour, pointing out features she couldn't name correctly, I stared at the release lines button on my app. They laughed, toasted, stained my deck, and treated my boat like a public clubhouse. I clenched my jaw, muttered, "Let's see how you host a mixer at sea," and tapped the screen. At first, nothing. Then, slowly, ever so subtly, my boat began drifting. If you're enjoying the story so far, like and subscribe for more top-notch HOA dramas. The best part? They didn't notice right away. For a good 10 minutes, the HOA circus sipped wine and bragged about their boat like royalty on a cruise. Meanwhile, I was watching them float gently into open water from hundreds of miles away. I nearly choked laughing when one of them finally said, didn't we park closer to shore?" Joyce, ever the queen of denial, waved him off. "Relax, it's just the tide. Boats do this all the time." Yeah, boats totally do this all the time when the dock ropes magically vanish. Panic slowly set in when the horizon started stretching a little too far. People clutched their phones, desperately searching for Wi-Fi. Joyce kept pacing back and forth, muttering about weak marina signals. At one point, she even held her phone in the air like she was summoning a signal god. I was dying of laughter in an airport seat, drawing side eyes from strangers. Then I pulled out my Ace, my Coast Guard app. With a few taps, I submitted a report of a missing vessel, attaching screenshots of my Ring footage, text showing my refusals, and proof that Joyce had no permission whatsoever. Let her explain this one. Meanwhile, the HOA group chat exploded. Pings came rapid fire. Why are we moving? Does anyone know how to anchor? One genius actually tried and bent the mechanism in the process, damaging my boat further. Perfect evidence. The Coast Guard called me within the hour. Calmly, I explained the situation, even providing GPS coordinates. By then, the boat had drifted almost 7 miles out. When rescue finally arrived, the report described severe panic on board, with Joyce nearly in tears trying to bark orders nobody listened to. When the Coast Guard tugged my boat back to safety, the officer's notes were priceless. Grown adults screaming like toddlers on a roller coaster, with Joyce clutching a half-empty bottle of cheap champagne like it was a life raft. Witnesses said she tried to play captain, shouting, "Stay calm, I have experience." Yet she couldn't even locate the emergency radio. The irony? The Coast Guard told me she actually asked them if there was a return to dock button somewhere on board. Pure comedy gold. Once the boat was secure, I finally assessed the aftermath. Wine stains on the seats, scratches on the wood, and the anchor mechanism mangled from their amateur "we got this" attempt. I could have gone full nuclear with lawsuits, trespassing, property damage, even impersonation since she lied to my neighbor for the keys. But honestly, watching her squirm in front of uniformed officers was worth more than dragging her into court. Still, I made sure to send the repair bill and professional cleaning invoice straight to the HOA treasury, paid in full. Of course, Joyce didn't shut up. She stomped around claiming I engineered a trap to embarrass her, but the evidence was a guillotine waiting above her head. Ring camera clips, text logs, neighbors who admitted she tricked them. That night, the HOA held an emergency vote. Joyce, once their self-proclaimed queen, was dethroned in record time. The margin? A brutal landslide. People who once kissed her ring now couldn't sprint away fast enough. After being compensated, I penned a formal letter to the board. Short, sharp, and undeniable, what they did was wrong, dangerous, and humiliating. For them. Joyce disappeared from HOA meetings, her power gone, her reputation sunk deeper than the anchor she broke. And that, my friends, is how HOA Karen learned the hard way that my boat is not her playground. She lost her presidency, her reputation, and every ounce of fake authority she thought she had. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Have you ever dealt with a Karen or HOA board member who crossed the line? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear it.